Hey there, welcome to Contracts and Chaos. My name's Alyssa.
And I'm Brenna, and we're here to tell you that you are not alone in the mayhem of this real estate industry.
We're keeping it real and sharing our stories, strategies, and successes in today's real estate world.
So come join us every Tuesday while we talk contracts and chaos. Yes, it is Tuesday, so we are back with another episode. I realize that we really don't do very well in our introduction
No, we don't. We need
aspect. We really dive into the meat and potatoes, Alyssa. No fluff.
No, well, I
no
feel
fluff
like
and no cheering.
that's our personality. We're like, I don't have time for fluff. Give me A, B, C, D, E.
No.
Like,
Well, I have
and
numbers
so,
1 through 6. How does that sound?
awesome. And my big thing about it is the pitfalls. Like, so I really want to make sure we touch on to make sure you avoid those pitfalls. Because I think that's better. I just moved the pillow on my back. I think they're important to make sure you know what they potentially are so that you don't fall into them. A goal without a plan is just a dream. I don't remember where I heard that or whose quote that actually is, but it's true. A goal without a plan is just a dream because you're never going to accomplish it. And that's what I love about the 12-week year is it gives you the structure to reach that goal. And if you follow what you lay out or you build a structure that is effective, you'll reach those goals.
So when I first got the book, it was one of those things like they were talking about how the last part of the year in, corporate America, like businesses, right? The most growth they see is actually in the last 90 days because they're like, oh, wow, we set this massive goal January 1st. We're not there yet. This is what we have to do. And they do. Like they'll crush their numbers every time or most of the time, And so they're like, why do we always wait? Why can't we break it down into smaller bite-sized chunks and essentially have 4 years in a year, And for me personally, I'm a bite-size nugget kind of person and a very visual person. So for me to say, I want to have a beach house by the time I'm 30, that's great. Also, it's coming up very quickly at the moment. So I'm just like having a roadmap. Like, I'm not going to buy a beach house this week or this month, right? But I know that I have steps in, like, you're saving money for a down payment. You're looking into like all those things that lead to the end result. And I also like in the 12-week year that they're like, listen, pick 3. And we'll talk about that. Pick 3. We're not talking about every goal that you have for yourself in the next 5 years. We're talking about ones like actionable items that you can do every week, every day, whatever, to move the needle and get you to that goal. That's why I know I think in the book it's SMART goals. Probably everybody's heard about SMART goals, but smarter goals is actually how I do it. Have you heard of smarter goals?
No.
Okay, so SMART goals, right? It's an acronym, which we all love those. And I wrote them down because I always get them mixed up. I have to it's specific. Your goal has to be specific, has to be measurable, right? You have to be able to track where you're going with it. Achievable. I'm not going to fly to the moon next month, right? And realistic and timely. That's your SMART goal, right? Smarter goals, the E and the R, evaluated and rewarded. So at the end of each, at the end of each week or at the end of whenever you check in with yourself and your goals on your 12-week year, you're going to evaluate your system, what you're working on, what those action items look like for you right now, what's working, what's not working, what we can change, right? Because it's just like a couple episodes we talked about the CRM, right? Or time blocking. The best way to do it is the one that works for you, right? The one that you're going to use. So if you're working towards a goal using a strategy for the first month and you realize it's not your jam, it's not working, it's not as successful as you thought it was going to be, pivot. You're not tied into that specific tactic to reach your goal. Don't change the goal, change the tactic. So if you're evaluating throughout that 12 weeks, you can make those little minor adjustments to keep moving forward instead of just like, we'll pick it up in quarter two, right? We'll figure it out in quarter two. We can figure it out
Right.
each step of the way. R is my favorite, rewarded, because I'm an instant gratification kind of person. A year is a long ways away, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I do so
Yep.
closings. I buy myself a closing present, you know? Or if I hit like I my third quarter goals, I got all like I did all the transactions. I had everything done that was on my three goals for quarter three. And I said that I was gonna get the MacBook Air. I was gonna wait until Black Friday, but I didn't. Here we are. Here she is. She's beautiful. But like those things to me, it's hard for me to picture my life 5 or 10 years from now, right? Like I'm living right now, this
Right.
moment.
Right.
So for me to have like those little bite-sized pieces for me to achieve, and then those little like, yeah, girl, you did it, makes me want to do more. I'm motivated by
And
encouragement, acknowledgement, and rewards.
well, and like I think it makes sense to me because when you break them down, then at the end of the year, you've reached the larger goal. Like, so you're still doing the big things. If you think about it, like, this is so weird,
What?
but this is the only analogy that's coming to mind. If you think about it like Joey Chestnut, do you know who Joey Chestnut is?
Yes.
So, Joey Chestnut is a competitive eater, right? And he wins the Coney Island 4th of July thing every year.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you think about it like Joey Chestnut, he doesn't just show up every 4th of July and eat 100 hot dogs. That's not, it doesn't work that way. He also that day doesn't just shove 100 hot dogs in his mouth at once. Like it's one hot dog at a
Mm-hmm.
time. And throughout the year, he practices with different foods, different things, different amounts, quantities to get there. But he has that big annual goal to win the hot dog eating contest. So it's the same thing applied to your personal goals or your professional goals. We have this big one. Let's break it down and we will get to that big one. I'm breaking it down into smaller chunks. And that's what the 12-week year does.
Yes, it does.
Like it makes it consumable so that you're not overwhelmed or not getting to the end of your year going, oh God. Okay, because I hate, and I have seen so many agents do this in the last couple weeks.
I can't wait to hear what this is.
It makes it so you're not getting to December or November. Because let's be honest, if you get any new business right now, today's November 14th. And so if you don't have something under contract right now, let's be honest, you're not closing by the end of the year. Anything from here going forward is probably going to be 2024 business, which is fine. But what I cannot stand is you see these agents, and I don't know what it looks like in the background of their life. I don't know what happened so that they aren't at that goal this year. But you see it usually mid October to mid November. The Facebook post. I need 3 more families. Who can I help by the end of the One, it's disgusting. You're begging for business, in my opinion. I can't stand it. Like, if you haven't nurtured that relationship, But two, like, it goes back to your example, like, that's in the book, that in corporate America, people suddenly panic and go, oh God. Like, when I worked in cell towers, it was, oh, we're 3 cell or however many off. We got to get it done. And we start, rushing because in I'll be honest, in telecom business, if it's not done by Thanksgiving,
It doesn't get
it's
done.
not getting done
Yeah.
because like the world shuts down. But I hate that. So what I like about this is it breaks it down. And so every quarter, you've probably done the same thing. Like my April to July was I wanted 4 closings. Now I'm going to look this way because this is where my list of closings is. One, I had 2, but other months I made up for, or I at least had people under contract that maybe pushed it to an August closing because I had, yeah, that's what happened. I'm looking at
So
this. I'm like, yeah,
that's my hard part is just being like, I see it, right? And it's under contract. And then last year, there was one of them that it got delayed twice, right? And it pushed it outside of that 90-day window that I had set for myself. And I was so upset because I would have gotten, but you know what I mean? That's where a little bit of grace, especially in this industry that we work in,
Right.
comes into play for all of us.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Because like I look at mine and my overall goal for this year was I wanted a certain number of closings. I'll throw it out there. I wanted 12. I've never had 12 closings before, as I built this business. I also broke mine down by
Mm-hmm.
financials. So I wanted to hit a certain financial number, and I've done that. So again, give yourself some grace. Just because you didn't hit your goal one way doesn't mean you're not going to hit it another, or that just because that closing got pushed to day 91, count it. Like, give yourself the grace. You still closed it. You still achieved it, and you still pushed towards it. Maybe because there's something out of your control, like your delayed closing was nothing you could control,
Right.
right? You still did the things and got it done. It just took a little longer than expected.
Right, right. So let's dig in a little bit as far as like the setup of 12-week year, because I don't think that we're going to have another episode on this until the beginning of the year. As far as like, and I don't know if we'll do what our goals are, because mine aren't done yet. So I can be honest there. I don't know what my first quarter is going
Mine
to
are not.
look like. But as far as the step-by-step process for people to think about in the next couple of weeks, we can kind of break that down, at least how each of us do it. Oh, the first thing that you need to do is, of course, have that long-term vision, right? So talking about the beach house from like 5 years ago, but you need to be able to see. I'm not telling you to tell me what you want when you're retired, when you're 65, and you know what I mean. Give me a little bit, give me 3 to 5 years of what you want your life to look like. And then we're going to dial it back to just 1 year, right? What is your life going to look like? What will you have done, seen, accomplished by this time in 2024, right? That's how I break it down. And then at that point, we take that 1 year section.
Right. And then within each of those 12-week chunks, so you set out your goals, um, usually two or three, depending. I mean, you can have more if you want. But each goal, when you say what your overall goal is, you also write out the tactics you're going to perform to reach that goal. So when you build those tactics in, that's how your plan to reach that 12-week goal.
So I think that that's important to take into consideration, like the to narrow down your goals into, like you said, two or three, right? We're really trying to dial this in and get granular with what's going to move your needle to the end goal. And then when I'm thinking about tactics, unfortunately I think in like a timeline manner, like what do I need to do? But when I'm doing 12-week year, it's actually like a brain dump format for me first, right? Of what I could possibly do to make this work. And then with my highlighters and my gel pens, I can cross some off that I'm like, no, I don't like door knocking. I'm certainly not going to door knock. You know what I mean? And highlight the ones that I like those kinds of things. And
Right.
then those are the items that, I mean, as far as step 4, I guess, on my little list is to like re-look at those brain dump items and pick the tactics that I am going to use. And then the other thing in the book, they talk about roadblocks, right? What's going to keep you from doing these items? What's going to keep you from reaching this 12-week year? So for me personally, that was a huge, when I first read the book, was a huge eye opener for me, because I could just spit out ideas that I could do all day long. But when I factored in at that time, the girls were out of school, it was summertime, like how what am I actually going to do? My time was limited, my resources were like that kind of thing. Being aware of your struggles that you, or your speed bumps that you'll have to get past and move forward to reach those goals is almost as important as following the tactics that you figured out.
Right. Agreed. Because, yeah, if you don't identify those and you're not realistic, then you're not going to achieve anything because you're not being realistic. Like one of mine, I'm looking up here, like weekly dates with friends. When business is slow, that's a financial burden. And so there were times where that didn't happen. Or like my one thing right now is every Wednesday, today's Tuesday, so I go tomorrow. I go to a local bar and I sit just during happy hour with ladies. Not my ladies. I hardly know these ladies, by the way. I love them, but I hardly know them. But there are weeks where I'm ordering a drink, or there are weeks where I'm ordering dinner, and it all depends. Like, where are we at with closings? What's going on? Um, Things like that to make sure. So you also, again, back to the giving yourself grace. One, we have to be realistic. Two, give yourself grace. Like, I think the other thing that's important about this, like when you're doing this, especially from a team aspect, is the other thing is you have a weekly review. You are supposed to every week at the beginning of your week or the end go over, okay, this is what was supposed to be done. Did I do it? And that's where we review what obstacle got in my way. Or do I need help? Like, is there something that I need to change? So that's one of my favorite parts is like, we're not just saying, okay, every 12 weeks, you're going to set a goal and you're going to lay out the tactics to get it done. Good luck. No, hold on. We're checking in once a week. Like, and when I do this, or did this before, like very seriously, I had a group and we met on Zoom every Monday morning and we went over what our tactics were supposed to be. Did we achieve them? And then we laid out, okay, here's what I'm working on next week. Like, here's because sometimes you're not doing all the tactics every week. Sometimes it's one or two, sometimes it is all of them. But that check-in with other people or even just with yourself, ooh, major accountability. Like, the accountability is built into this process, and I really like that.
Yeah. And before the check-in, and it kind of circles back to time blocking a couple of episodes ago, is taking those tactics and breaking those down into your weekly, right? Because some tactics you might not be doing every day, or you could only be doing them once in the whole month. You know what I mean? So taking those tactics and breaking them down into that time blocking period. So in your strategic time blocking, in your work time block, like you have those items written into your schedule. So there's really no excuses because it's there. It's written down, it's scheduled, it's getting done.
Right.
That's how it works. If I've already
Right.
highlighted it, it is getting done.
Yep. Yes, for sure. And I like that it helps you. I think we kind of covered this, but identify your pitfalls. And it gives you, like, when you read the book, it gives you an accountability meeting agenda. And it's exactly what we just said. Like, individual report out, like, how it went, successful techniques, like, how, like, what worked, what didn't, and then encouragement from other people. And that's kind of nice because it just gives you, like, it's a little accountability, but like that encouragement at the end, like your smarter goals, an evaluation, but encouragement can kind of be an evaluation.
Mm-hmm. Tracking and being accountable, find an accountability buddy. That's a huge piece. Celebrate the small wins. We've already kind of said that with like give yourself grace, you know what I mean? But celebrate the wins, what's working, what you tried and didn't work. Like all of it is progression, right? If we're just standing still, nothing's happening. If you
Right.
tried something and it didn't work, try something else. um I think that's the most
Right.
important part, and be honest with yourself. So if you said that you were going to spend 5 hours
Yes.
networking a week and you really only did 4, don't say that you did 5. Like we have to be honest.
I'm looking at I actually have the book open right now and the common pitfalls. So I think we should touch on that. Um Pitfall 1, you don't plan each week. Yeah, you can't go into your week. And I'll be honest, like the last quarter, that's me. I roll in every day and I'm like, oh, I wonder what's on the calendar today. Part of why I got my desk planner so I can like visualize it a little better. Two, you don't include all your tasks. That's important because if you're not include, like, your time blocking will be off, your goal will be off. Like, you need to make sure you're breaking this down. Three, you assume that each week is the same. We kind of touched on that. Like, each week doesn't have to be the same. That's part of that weekly check-in is, okay, like that's what I needed to do last week. Now what do I do this week? Because sometimes maybe those tactics build upon each other. So weeks 1 through 3, you have to do this. But once that gets rolling, then it transitions into a different tactic. Pitfall 4, you add tactics weekly. So I think that comes back to like when you're going through this, you really need to break it down. What are you actually going to do? And be honest and transparent about it. Because if every week you are saying, oh, I need to add this, oh, I need to add that, and it wasn't in the original plan, then you didn't really have a plan. Like you're just throwing it out there and seeing what sticks. So it's okay if, like I said, week 1 through 3 is certain tactics that will lead to tactic 2, but you should have known that at the beginning.
Right.
Right? Like my monthly farming or my monthly whatever emails and my social media strategy build to my client event, which was the yard sale. So 1 through whatever was this, and then it built to that. That's building on your tactics. But if you're just every week going, oh, I've got to add this, that's not what we're talking about here. And 5, you don't use it to guide your day. So again, back to the time blocking, back to scheduling things. Like once you've created your weekly plan, you want to use it to keep yourself on track. Like that's how you're going to build out your days to focus on your goals and to achieve what you want. And 6, you don't make it part of your routine. Each of us has a routine. Brenna and I have talked about this before. Like our morning routine is actually kind of similar. Hers involves children, mine involves fur babies. But we get them up, we get them settled, you get them to school. We do our walk, morning feeding, everything. And then we both take like 30 minutes and we tidy our house real quick. So if I said, oh, I'm going to get up and I'm going to start cold calling people at 7:30 in the morning, that's not going to work for me because it's not in my routine. That would just throw my whole day off. I saw an agent post the other day, like, if you're not up and in your business by 8 a.m., then you're never going to be successful. And I was like, that's weird because that's not how I do it.
That's not how I do it. Right. Well, and for a while when I started time blocking, I only put in like the business pieces, which was a huge mistake for me. But it was my business planner, right? Like I wrote my appointments, like things like I was doing. But the problem with that was I didn't have room for anything else. Or if I had to then go pick up the kids or all the life aspects and I had to move things around, then I was irritated. You have to have your life in your schedule too.
Yeah, like when I was CrossFitting, I had, and it makes my calendar very cluttered because I would build in all the possible times for the CrossFit classes because I knew other things are going to slide in here and there. So I could shuffle, delete, move stuff around. But I had it built in. And that because CrossFit to me is my big pebble, or going to the gym, stuff like that. And then other things are built in that I can delete and move around. But yes, you have to have both personal and like I literally have Mabel written into my calendar, like to make sure I take a break and she gets a 30-minute walk at some point. I think the only thing we have left is that week 13. What do we do on week 13?
What do you do on week 13?
Oh, you don't know? Week 13? Oh, Lord. Week 13, you review.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was like, are we going on vacation? What is 13? I forgot what 13 is.
No, the 13th week. I'm like, where is it? It's in here somewhere. So at the end of every 12-week year, there's the 13th week. The 13th week is an opportunity to review your results from the past 12 weeks and to launch you into the next 12 weeks. So you're going to take the time, sit down, review how the last 12 weeks went. Did we accomplish those goals? Why didn't we accomplish those goals if we didn't? Reward yourself a little bit. But you're also going to dive into the next 12 weeks. This is where we're going to lay out what we plan on doing and how we're going to do it. But I think that review is important because if we just keep steamrolling through 12 weeks at a time and we don't for quarterly stop and look at what we've done and reassess, because maybe after one 12-week sprint or two 12-week sprints, here I am back in my project management term, sprints, maybe we realize, hey, I don't like say your goal was 30 houses and 12 weeks in or 24 weeks in, you're halfway there, but you hate your life. All right, let's reassess because maybe success to you isn't 30 houses. Maybe success to you is that work life balance and still, having a lifestyle you like financially, but you don't need to push for the big numbers like some people. Take the time and look at what you've done and then plan what the next 12 weeks are going to be so you can adjust if you need to.
Smarter goals. That's how we do this. So we have specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, timely, and then you're going to evaluate and reward. Smarter goals. That's how we are going to
Yes.
set ourselves up for quarter one of 2024, which is crazy that we're even talking about that because where did
Right.
2023 go?
I don't know. I'm still like in summer mode. I'm still wearing my Birkenstocks everywhere and then I wonder why I'm freezing.
Yeah, no, it's insane. But I think that this will be good. I'm excited to finish up my goal planning for quarter one. It's going to be very, I think my goals are going to look very different than they did quarter one of last year. So I'm excited because as a person, year to year or quarter to quarter, you grow, right? And things change and
Right.
evolve. And like, I don't know. I'm excited. So can't wait to see how that goes. And then we'll check in. I don't know if we'll do a check in at the beginning of the year with our goals and then accountability at the end of the first 12, but we'll figure something out.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think we can build on this episode and just be like, hey, here's how we're structuring ours. And then check in now and then, talk about how our tactics are going, things like that. Because this podcast is about being transparent and showing you like, here's what it's like to build this business and be at the point we're at. So yeah, for sure. Faux show.
Cool. Cool. Well, I guess we'll see you next week then.